Welcome back to Power Play. Well, an International Energy Agency report says the U.S. could be oil self-sufficient within a generation. That could be a big problem for Canada, which exports 2.5 million barrels a day to the U.S. It's kind of a landlocked situation, too. Natural Resources Minister Joe Oliver joins me from Toronto. Minister Oliver, are you somewhat surprised at the speed the U.S. is closing in on self-sufficiency?
Well, no. Our government, of course, has been talking about this for some time. We've been talking about the critical strategic need to diversify our markets. The U.S. market is not going to disappear, and they're certainly not going to be self-sufficient in oil for some considerable period of time. But they will be buying less oil and less gas from us than they have in the past. And we, of course, are able to export more and more oil and gas, so it's critical to jobs, to the economy, to revenue, to governments for social programs that we diversify, and that means, of course, the transportation, the infrastructure, the pipelines to move the resources west as well as east, and of course continue to export down to the United States as well. But you know, the other issue is that our oil is selling at a considerable discount right now. We're losing some $40 million every single day. We're talking about billions of dollars every year, and that's another reason for us to look for other markets.
Yeah, that's one thing that I don't know if a lot of Canadians realize is the discount we sell our oil. And one thing that I guess is somewhat concerning, that if the oil production in the U.S. does ramp up, it might drive down the world oil price to where the oil sands almost become uneconomical because the price of extracting the oil is going up so quickly. Is that a concern to you?
No, because, you know, balancing the new non-conventional sources of energy, the bulk of which actually are going to be coming from North America, that is Canada and the United States. Balancing that is the fact that there's going to be continuing very substantial growth in non-OECD energy demand. And I've been traveling around the world, as you know. I've been to China a couple of times, to Japan a couple of times, to India, to the Philippines, to Korea. And, you know, let me assure you that they are looking for what the counterpart to what we're looking for. They're looking to secure their sources of supply, and Canada is right at the top of their list.
One thing that struck me with the agency report does say that one thing Canada needs to do is address environmental impacts just as much as it needs to find new markets for its oil that aren't in the U.S. Do you agree that really it's a two-pronged solution and not just a matter of poking a pipeline east and west to try and find a new buyer?
No, absolutely. We've said repeatedly that we're only going to go ahead with projects that are safe for Canadians and safe for the environment. That's why we're investing a lot of money in science and technology, and that's why every project has to go through an independent regulatory review. But we're confident that many of these projects will receive regulatory approval and will be able to go ahead, and then the enormous benefits to the entire country can be realized. I mean, you know, we're talking just in the oil sands alone over the next 25 years, without exaggeration, well over $3 trillion in economic activity, hundreds of billions of dollars of revenue, and in total, 1 million jobs for Canadians right across the country.
That's one thing this fracking has proved, though, Minister Oliver, that really you can't predict the future. No one saw this coming 10 years ago, for example. Does that sort of throw into doubt how accurate forecasts can be based on current assumptions? Well,
it demonstrates that, specific forecasts can be a little off, but on the other hand, certain forecasts have a kind of a fundamental background to them, which will make it very unlikely that they'll be changed. And one of those issues, of course, is the question of demand. I mean, it's highly likely that the non-OECD countries are going to continue to grow at a very robust rate, 6-7% a year. So China, India, the Tigers, and other countries around the world will have an increasing need for energy. And what we have here, interestingly, is the bulk of the new energy is coming from North America, but the bulk of the growth in energy demand is coming from the non-OECD countries. So this should be viewed as an enormous opportunity for our country. The fact that we have to shift our focus to a different market doesn't mean we're in trouble. It means we have to be strategic about it. And if we're not, this can all be lost. You know, the OECD just a couple of days ago forecast that Canada is going to have superior growth to G7 countries for the next 50 years. I mean, that's quite a forecast. And, you know, our natural resources are part of it, but it isn't guaranteed. And if we don't actually get it done, well, we won't realize that superior growth.
Okay. Well, Minister Joe Oliver, thanks for joining us. I know you're just getting off a plane from Hong Kong. We appreciate you taking the time.
Very happy to do it, Don.
Okay, let's talk to the province which will be hardest hit if the oil market dries up with nowhere for it to go. Ken Hughes is Alberta's energy minister. Ken,